So, welcome back. This is part 2 of reading my suicidal diary entries. I hope you enjoyed part 1. Let's continue. Okay, November 4th. Let's go. Weird weekend. Didn't leave the house. Felt very sick. Muscle spasms were very uncomfortable. However, positive notes. Toe has healed up nicely. I have a full week at rehab. Back in the pool again, which will be great. Had awesome rumpy pumpy with Lou and she's very happy. Wait. Must remember to keep Lou's vitamin D levels up. I love it when she's this happy. There you go. November 9th. Been a while since I wrote in the diary. Been a very up and down week. After the last entry, I won poker. Yay, it was awesome. This week had its challenges. The spasms seem to be much harder to control as the Botox wears off. It seems like keeping the spasms calm is a full-time job. Kind of is. If you're suffering with spasms, keeping them under control is a kind of full-time job. I spend so much of my day keeping my spasms under control. But once you get into a routine of doing stuff, then it just becomes your new normal. I realise that I have to spend definitely a few hours a day taking care of my spasms and keeping my body healthy, but I try and see it more of a privilege than a punishment these days. I just feel like, I'm forced to stay active. I can't just, because I think if I had like flaccid limbs, I'd be well tempted to be a couch potato and watch Netflix all day, but I can't. Like, literally the couch is my worst enemy. Like, being idle makes my spasms so much worse. So again, I think framing things in the positive is really important. I feel sometimes very fed up with this injury and very much want it to fuck off so I can be normal again. I still have days like that. The spasms make my injury more unbearable. They make simple things difficult, and sometimes I wish they would relax so I could do some stretching and relaxing. So stretching is actually really important for spasms, but my spasms are so bad that I can't really stretch. I have to do a bit of passive stretching, and I'm so lucky that I get to do that with Lou every day. And when I was at rehab, I got to do it with a physio. I've been so up and down, it's really weird. One day I'll be really happy, the next day I'll be fantasizing about suicide. I think I'd rather die than live with this injury. Then other days I'm really happy, well, relatively. As the seasons change and snow starts to fall, I get anxious about the winter, the added difficulty of navigating life on wheels with rain, snow and cold. Yeah, that's pretty difficult. I think I want to go back to this bit where, like, one day I'll be really happy, the next day I'll be fantasizing about suicide. I touched on this in the first video. It's a roller coaster. Like, I was fantasizing about suicide a lot and I was very close to doing it, but the next day I'd be happy, or like I say, relatively happy. And so you kind of got to think, if these suicidal thoughts that you might be having are temporary, then you've just got to give it time before you make a rash decision about doing stuff. Last night, Lou was amazing. I was so depressed, talking about suicide and being a total Debbie Downer, and she just lay with me and stayed close until I felt better. What an absolute star. She is an angel, a true being of beauty. Her patience, love, and understanding is incredible. I'd like to think I could do the same for her if the roles were reversed, but I'm not sure I could. She has incredible skills of compassion and empathy. I sometimes think about that and it's really horrible to think, like, if I could do what Lou's done for me if the roles were reversed. It's crazy. Like, not only was I like permanently disabled, I was really a proper Debbie Downer. Like, I was so like in the depths of despair. Like, I would not have blamed her for walking away, but she stuck with me, and that was one of the things that really got me through this. I saw a therapist yesterday, and while it was difficult to communicate with her, she asked me to write down my negative emotions and tough times, plus my positive ones. I think cognitive behavioral therapy can help me. I will research it further. Yesterday, I drove the car with hand controls for the first time. It was awesome. I even managed to get the wheelchair in and out on my own too. I think we might drive again today too. It was fun, surprisingly easy to operate. I've also started a piece of artwork for Dominic. He told me his favourite animal was a raven, so I did a nice pic of a raven with a mandala around the eye. I think he will love it. obviously I'm having a pretty good day here. I got the hand controls for the car. Yeah, so obviously I was having a pretty good time here. And this is what the therapist told me to write about, the negative things and the positive things. And here, the lists are fairly even. Negative things. Leg spasms during poker. I had to stand with my walker and felt embarrassed and humiliated. Breaking the pepper grinder. Being clumsy and having to ask for help makes me feel useless and helpless. I remember that. I knocked the pepper grinder off the side and it smashed and there was broken glass everywhere. And I didn't want to roll over it with my wheels because I could like get a flat tire. So I had to ask Lou to come and help me. And it did. I hate feeling useless and helpless and asking for help. I kind of stubbornly independent. And I think if you suffered an injury like this, you could probably relate to that. Like you don't want to ask for help, but sometimes you have to. Waking up in pain with leg spasms. Start the day with sadness. I cried and felt like life is just too fucking hard. Not being able to run with Luna in the snow, even though I enjoyed watching Lou, I felt sad. That kind of sucks. Like we got a puppy and while having a dog is great, like not being able to like walk her or like walk with her sucks. But at the moment, like I've sort of worked a solution around it where I taught her to like walk next to my wheelchair and walk next to me like when I've got the bike attachment on. And I think that's like really important as well. Like, yeah, I'll never like walk the dog, but she can walk next to my wheelchair and like enjoying like training her to do that. So you've got to like really frame things in the positive, being like, okay, so this is not a problem, it's an opportunity. I can't walk with my dog, but I could also definitely train her to walk next to my wheelchair, which I've done, and people are super impressed when they see it. So I think you can always try and frame things in the positive, but obviously hindsight is a gift, which sometimes we don't have at the time. Positive things. Lou laying with me when I was really sad. I felt loved. Driving with hand controls made me feel independent. Going to the shop, getting outside and exercising made me feel good. I remember that. I just went to the shop. I just literally rolled to the shop, got a few groceries and rolled back, and it made me feel really good because I was like, did that myself, you know? Like it sounds really silly, but when you have so much taken away from you, count the little wins. Artwork made me get creative and focus on something. I forgot how bad it all was briefly, and I was proud of the finished piece. Fun conversations with Dominic. Dominic's my physio, and we became really close during my rehab days, and he was like one of my best friends. When I released the video about me being suicidal, I remember thinking, because he watched it and we spoke, and I remember thinking how hard it was for him watching that, because at the time he was like he was basically my closest friend. We spoke every day for like an hour, so like we were really close. And I remember thinking how my suicide would affect him, because and also Lou and like my family and stuff. But I just remember thinking that I just didn't want to live anymore, and so it was kind of crazy having that conversation months later after I decided to release that video about talking openly about my suicide attempt around about Christmas time, when I just thought that I didn't want to live anymore, and how that would have affected Dominic. And also, yeah, the artwork as well. Like, so for example, getting caught up in something creative, like again, made me forget how bad it was very briefly. And I just remember like getting lost in the artwork and like just being really grateful that, I can use my hands and I can do artwork and just focus on like what I can do. So that was pretty cool. Negatives. Oh, we've gone back to the negatives again. When it's raining, I feel stuck inside the house like a prison. Yeah, I kind of feel that way nowadays. When it's raining, I kind of still am stuck in the house. I put a post up on a spinal cord injury page saying about like how to go outside when it's raining, and like 90% of the replies were like, just stay inside, dude. Like there was a wheelchair user at the rehab center, and I was like, oh, what do you do when it's raining? And she was like, just stay inside. So it kind of like instilled in me that like when it's raining outside, I need to stay inside. And to be fair, like I was always a bit of a fair weather person anyway before my injury. So I've just I try to make my home like my comfort zone, and there's enough things for me to do when it's raining outside, especially now I've started like filming YouTube videos, like it's sunny today. But if it was raining, I can do this. I guess like get a load of indoor hobbies. So when it is raining, you can do those things. And yeah, I also kind of try and live somewhere where it's sunny. I'm pretty lucky with the weather here. But then I guess in the winter time when it was snowing, it sucked because I was in a lot. Yeah. So when it's raining, I feel stuck inside the house like a prison. Sometimes I feel stuck inside my broken body like a prison. Yeah, that's a pretty tough sentence there. I feel stuck inside the house when it's raining, and I feel stuck inside my broken body. Because I was still relating to the able-bodied former version of myself. And yeah, it does feel like I'm stuck inside my body like a prison. Like, not really anymore, because like I say, enough time has passed now that this is my new normal. Like, when I do things as a paraplegic, like when I do things in my wheelchair, it's just normal. Like, I still dream that I'm walking and stuff, but when I wake up, instead of being like, oh, I'm in a wheelchair, I'm like, oh, that was a cool dream. And I used to like wake up, that was one of the most depressing things. I'd wake up and I'd see my wheelchair and think of it like, oh, I'm stuck in a wheelchair. And then I watched a video recently about some paraplegic people in like third world countries and stuff that don't have wheelchairs. And I'd be like, man, how liberating is it to have a wheelchair? Like seeing my wheelchair and being like, I'm so bloody grateful to have that. Because if I didn't have it, I'd be proper fucked. Like, do you know what I mean? So again, shifting that focus to like gratitude is so important, I think. Just being like, I am really grateful to have a wheelchair, and I'm really grateful to have a dream where I was able-bodied for a brief moment, instead of being like, oh man, oh, I don't know, I guess it's just a shift in perspective. My freedoms and independence have been taken away. When I see what my friends are doing on Instagram or even Facebook, memories of what I used to do makes me sad or jealous or bitter. Yeah, that sucks. Not gonna lie, Facebook memories. I don't use Facebook that much anymore. In fact, one of the things I can contribute to my happiness in general is not using Facebook. This is fairly unrelated to the injury, but I was kind of addicted to scrolling. Like, I would open up my phone and it was kind of like autopilot. Before I even knew it, I'd be scrolling my Facebook feed, and it was just really just not very good for my mental health. Like, again, seeing what other people are up to, seeing what all my able-bodied friends are doing, Facebook memories, they'd be like, oh, look, at this time last year, you landed a backflip on your snowboard, and now look at you. And it was really depressing, man. So one of the top tips I can give you for being happy is stop using social media. If you have an unhealthy relationship with social media, like I did, I deleted Facebook off my phone, and my rule was I would only ever use it on my computer. And it was much less appealing on the computer when you're scrolling with the mouse. It just seems like, you're not like opening up your phone and then before you know it, you're like, oh fuck, I was just replying to a message and I've just spent half an hour on Facebook. With Instagram, I had a much healthier relationship because I sort of followed loads of hashtags that were like spinal cord injury, wheelchair stuff, and I would be looking at things that were inspiring me rather than sort of depressing me. But then just recently I noticed that I had a unhealthy relationship with Instagram, where I never really was a fan of doing Instagram stories, but I started doing them recently. I had one that was like really popular where I was just speaking about like how happy I was. And then I remember like thinking like, oh shit, I've done it again. Like, I looked at my phone to answer a message and like 20 minutes later I'm scrolling Instagram. So I think it was last night. It was actually last night I deleted Instagram off my phone because I was like, I need a break from that, because I recognize that my relationship with that particular app is unhealthy, and it's sort of like drawing me into sort of just, I don't know, just not necessarily making me feel depressed, but just distracting me from other things that I could be doing that are more productive, like going out on my hand bike, doing some exercise, getting in my standing frame, like making a video, something like that, I miss my orgasms, bowel movements, and bladder function. I hate leg spasms and being stuck in a broken body, feeling like a burden. Yeah, I do miss those things. It's so weird. Like after such time has passed, yeah, I miss my orgasms, but I can have like what I would say like is like a 60-70% orgasm, which is pretty good. Like it's not the same as before, but like I say, it's my new normal now. My bowel movements, again, like when I do my bowel program, it's it is what it is. I do it like once a day, so I've done it like maybe since my injury, like over like 600 times. So I mean, that just gets really normal. My bladder function, again, like intermittent catheterization. I don't know, I just do it, man. Like it's just, yeah, I do. I mean, I think because so much time has passed, I forget what it's like to just like be normal, So I hate leg spasms. Yeah, I hate leg spasms still. They really piss me off. That never really goes away. You never really be like, oh, that's a fun leg spasm, or like, that like crippling muscle tightness is really fun. But again, you get used to it. Once you get into a routine where you can manage it properly, it becomes easier. Being stuck in a broken body. Now, I don't really see my body as broken, although I guess technically it is. I've got a damaged spinal cord. I can't move my legs like normal people. Feeling like a burden. So the way that you can feel like less of a burden is to be more productive. So I think one of the real main things can help you there is like focus on the things you can do rather than the things you can't do. I'll give you an example. Like when we moved house, I was like, at being a man, like being strong, I was thinking, what would I usually do here in this situation? It would be like to lift the couch, lift the heavy things, like do the man jobs, I guess. Well, but so I had a load of friends come over and help us move house, and I was like, okay, what can I do? I was like, well, what I can do is keep everyone fed, keep everyone like happy with like tea and biscuits. So I did that. I've got loads of sandwiches made. I got the biscuits in. I kept everyone topped up with tea and coffee all day. I looked after the animals. I did all the things that I could do to the best of my ability, and everyone was stoked, man. Everyone was like, oh man, yes. Oh, a cup of tea, banging. Biscuits, love it. Like pastries, awesome. Sandwiches, amazing. Like they were well happy. And I was like, that's what I could do. So that's just, like I say, if you don't want to be a burden, then don't be a burden. Don't focus on the things you can't do. Focus on the things you can do. And if you can't do any of those things, try and focus on things that you can. So yeah, if you've got any feedback, hit me up in the comments. I'm going to have to make a part 3 of this video now. I've run on too long. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you in part 3. Cheers.